subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out some useful videos which I'll highlight there. And my keyboard tried to fall out of my lap. What up, y'all? It's Sam at Then Can Designs here with another video to help your small business reach its big goals. In today's video, we have 5 tips, kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tips that you need to do to your small business website today. It doesn't matter if you're an innovator, a future maker, or one of those risk takers. I guarantee you there is going to be one point, at least, if not all 5 points, that will help improve your website right now. Stick around, you're going to get something out of this one. I guarantee it. Let's do this. Before we get started, I want to give a little shout out. No, I want to give a big shout out to Donald Miller, the author of Storyboard, the 5 points that I will be discussing today, loosely based on one of the chapters in that book. Highly recommend it. I will link to it below in the description. Be sure to check that book out if you haven't already. If you're a web designer, it's totally going to help you portray the message of the people you're working with even better. And if you're a small business owner, it's going to help you portray your own message even better. Love StoryBrand. So, what are we doing today? We're going to improve all of our websites immediately with 5 easy tips. 5 easy tips. It's that simple. What we're going to do is we're going to pick apart my website. We're going to find parts that I can be doing better, and then, this is the cool part, we're actually going to implement those things. That won't be in this video, but that will come soon. So let's switch over to the looms, and we'll take a look at my site, and we'll figure out what can we be doing better. 5 tips. Let's go. All right, so I've pulled up my website, thencandesigns.com, and we're going to take a look around, and we're going to figure out the 5 tips that can improve my website right now. We're going to take a quick dive into how people actually observe websites. Believe it or not, people do studies on weird stuff like this. So let's look at the website. What we do is we actually look in a Z pattern. Hopefully you can see my mouse. So we start up at the top, we work our way down. So our very first tip is we need our important information to live above the fold. And above the fold is an old-timey newspaper term for that fold, for that top story that was on the front page. But what the fold means is whether we're on a phone or we're on a desktop like we are right now, we have to make sure that all of our important information lives right here. Okay? We need our call to action above the fold, and we'll talk about what that means in a little bit. So when you're thinking of your website, above the fold. Can't stress that enough. Tip number 2 involves how people look at websites. So when we're looking at a website, what do you think we do? Well, the answer is not read. We only skim a website. So tip number 2 is to condense your message. How do we say as much as possible in as little words as possible? Let's take an example. Right now, it's not really too lengthy of a header, but I'm kind of getting into too much down here. And we'll talk about what I'm supposed to be saying and if I'm saying the right things here in just a second. Our third tip goes along the same vein, and I'm totally stealing this from StoryBrand. They say to take your message and distill it down to one line. One line. What do you do? And then this is the key. Rephrase it so that it's from the point of view of the person viewing your website. The user. They're the hero of the story. You're only the guide. Read the book. It's in the description below. It's really awesome. Now, one of my problems here is I'm not really doing that. I'm not saying, it's not the way till right here I say, help your small business reach its big goals. Perfect. I did it. But up to that point, I'm discussing what I do. I'm trying to make myself the hero. So we're going to change that in our website. One of the biggest ways to get conversion on your website is to have a call to action above the fold. Now that we know what the fold is, we want to find our call to action. Boom, it's right here. Get a quote, right? Get a quote. Look, it even pops out at you, which is great. But remember that Z pattern? people are actually going to have their eyes rest about here. So it's really good to have your call to action actually in the center of the page. So we're going to work on getting that call to action over here. And speaking of call to actions, it's really good to not only have your primary call to action, but a secondary call to action too. In StoryBrand, they call it the marry me call to action and the just dating call to action. So we're going to build that one up and try to come up with what that secondary call to action will be. That transient, that we're just trying things out here. We're not quite going steady. We'll come up with that. And last but not least, tip number 5 is to have your call to action repeat multiple times throughout your page and be forever persistent in the header, or on mobile, it's usually nice to be in the footer. So we'll see on my site, I actually changed this recently. It used to say free site eval, which I've learned is not the best conversion tool, but I have these matching now, and so wherever you are on the page, that get a quote lives right there. And so if you change your mind and you want to get a quote at some point, it's still there. Now, one thing that I can do to improve is to make these buttons consistent. So that'll be one thing I work on. So that way you always know that this does the same thing. Having that consistent call to action throughout the page just keeps priming the person. Think about it. When you go to buy something, sometimes you're in, right? You go to the page and you're just looking, hey, make it easy for me. So bam, right there in the center. Bam, right there in the header. That's good. But sometimes it takes a little bit of warming up. So keep showing me that message. One thing I could do is potentially, now I have some kind of funneling call to actions here, but it would be nice if maybe I snuck in another call to action right here, or maybe in between these things, and then I do close with a call to action. So that's good. That's a really good practice, is to close with that. But maybe one more call to action right here and keep it consistent, right? It looks like I'm going with the orange throughout the page. Maybe I could figure out a way to tweak my header so that way I can stay orange, or maybe I switch these to black. We're going to figure that out. Now, I always like to give you some bonus tips. So here's a couple bonus tips for you. One bonus tip is to use images of what could be your potential users. Maybe it's your actual users, and they're looking happy. So that's something I'm missing out on here. I just have pictures of the mountains, the city of Bend, which is cool, but that's not really what I need. I should be highlighting customers. Another tip is to have a funnel. So my funnel is sort of right here. Now, for me, it's not quite that big a deal because I mostly want people to do this. This is my Mary, and these are actually my anniversary presents. These are the things that come down the road. But there's a very good chance that you do a lot of things with your business, and you have to figure out, how do I narrow these down to about 3 categories? 3 is the golden number. There's a lot in the power of 3s. And figure out how to highlight these as quickly as possible and figure out how do we get them to the right page. That's so important. So let's try to make sure we have a funnel. And last but not least, this is a real pro tip right here, is to have some sort of pop-up. And I know it's not 1999, but pop-ups are actually showing to work more and more. And you should look into 2 kinds of pop-ups. One would be a time-delayed pop-up. And what that would mean is about 10 to 20 seconds into viewing the site, something pops up. It should be really easy to dismiss. You can just click off to the side. We see these all the time. And when they're easy to dismiss, we rarely get annoyed by them. And we often look at them. So it's really crucial to have that time-based pop-up. And then another cool tool that you can have, so if you can see my mouse right here, as you go up, a pop-up can pop up then. Those are called exit intent pop-ups. So I'm going to show you how to use those, and I'm actually going to start implementing it on my site. So that way if somebody goes to my site and they go to hit the back button, they'll get greeted with probably my transitional call to action. I'm not going to try to jam down through like, oh, I see you're leaving. You probably want to get a website, huh? Probably not. So my transitional call to action when they're leaving will probably be to subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out some useful videos, which I'll highlight there. So that'll be something I highlight with my transitional, my secondary call to action. And welcome back. There you have it. 5 tips plus some bonus tips on what you need to do to your website today. Let's recap. 1. Condense your message. Try to figure out how to say as much as possible, but in as few words as possible. Number 2. Distill your brand down to 1 line. Let's think about it for ThenCan Designs. What do? I design websites for small businesses. particularly my target audience will probably be small business owners. I have a tagline: help your small business reach its big goals, which when you think about it doesn't really make sense. Like, does the business have goals or does the person have goals? Anyway, I like the line. It's easy to memorize, and I say it with the videos, and it's a nice tagline to throw all over the site. So help your small business reach its big goals with conversion-based website design. Boom, there's my one line right there. I can take that to networking events. I can say at the bottom of every email. I can say at the start of every YouTube video. Well, I say a version of it already, but maybe I'll start saying it like that. But that's what people need to see when they get to my page. And then, trying to condense as much as possible, I'll take that next section and just put a couple sentences about what I do and maybe where I do it. Because I think it's nice for people to know where you're at, what you offer, what makes you different. I can add a little bit of flair, a little bit of personality. Why not? The third tip. Well, what's the third tip? Call to action was for. Oh, the first tip was the fold. Third tip is put it above the fold. We want to put everything that's important above the fold. We need our call to action. We need our tagline. We need people to know who we are, what we do, why we do it, and most importantly, how we're going to do it for them. And studies show we have 3 seconds to do this. 3 seconds. It needs to be above the fold. Number 4 is to have our call to actions right there in the middle above the fold. That includes our primary call to action, which is the marry me call to action, and our transitional call to action, or a secondary call to action, or our hey, we're just dating call to action. So what's a little thing that we can give away to hopefully have them buy the farm later? And our 5th tip was to have our call to action in the header and repeated throughout the page over and over. To really, it's not to beat our clients, our customers, or donors over the head. No. It's not that. It's because people just need to see stuff over and over again before they're really convinced that, hey, maybe I do need that thing. That's all we're doing. And our bonus tips, again, images of people being happy, using funnels when we have multiple products that we need to sell. And last but not least, bringing the pop-ups back, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. $19.99 all over again. No MSN this time. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you like videos like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the little dinger so you know when there's more videos. If you have any feedback or you have ideas for future videos, leave them below in the comments. And if you found this video useful, be sure to hit that like button, people. It's not that hard. It only takes 2 seconds. Be on the lookout because there will be a follow-up video where I take these tips and I apply them to my own website. I think that's going to be really cool. And if you're a small business owner and you're sitting there and you're thinking, yes, I want to do all these things, but hey, I'm a small business owner, so I don't have any time to do that. Is there somebody that can help me? Any independent web designer can do all of these things for you. But of course, I'm going to recommend yours truly. You can head over to thencandesigns.com right now, and we can discuss how we can turn your site into a conversion-based moneymaker, baby. But really, more importantly, it can serve your customers even better. Because let's be real, money's nice, but having satisfied customers, clients, or whoever you serve is the reason why I got into owning my own small business, and it probably has something to do with why you started a small business too. That's all I got for this video. Before we go, I just want to remind everybody to level up. You may not feel like this is the time to level up your small business. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of uncertainty in the world. Are we about to hit a recession? I don't know, but what I can tell you is that 2023 can be your year. And if you're watching this video in the future, then that year can be your year. So 3023 can be your year. Check it out. Let's do this together. Until next time.